Alright, so, I know different scenery. My room's currently getting cleaned, so I'm reorganizing it. So I'm currently in downstairs in my living room right now. So, yeah, just gonna put that out there. So we all know what's been going on around the U.S. and what's been going on around the world. And before I start anything in this video, rest in peace to George Floyd, rest in peace to Breonna Taylor, to Regis Karinsky Paquette, Ahmaud Arbery, DeAndre Campbell, David McCaddy, and anybody who didn't become a hashtag because we didn't hear their story. Rest in peace. The last month has been devastating. It's been mentally taxing. It's exhausting. It's become all too familiar. And while we are currently at home right now, with most of us, for the most part, are home, or spending more time at home, the biggest problem America's had has been in plain sight for all of us to see without any escapes, or not many escapes, and just many ways to filter it out in our day-to-day. Because for the most part, the world's been on pause for a while. It's been on full display for everyone to see. That video of George Floyd's murder, I only watched it one time. Okay? I only watched it once. And when my friend posted it on her story and I watched it, I didn't even think I watched a man lose his life or a man be murdered. I didn't think I watched a man lose his life. If anything, I just thought it was another case of police brutality, which is pretty damning thing to say if you think about it. But the next day, when I heard that he had actually lost his life, I don't know what it was about this particular incident. It's more or less has made me mad. It made me angry. It made me feel like I wanted to do something. I wanted to actually take some level of action or let out some level of frustration. Because black people are fucking frustrated right now. And then seeing the face of privilege on that punk ass officer's face. Just watching him see that everyone's saying that this is watching this and seeing that everyone's saying, this is a blood choke. This is a blood choke. Or you're killing this man. And there's a group of onlookers that are powerless because they can't step in. And then just seeing the officer have his hands in his pocket and not giving a care in the world, that fucking annoyed me. It angered me. It frustrated me. Because the system that's in place in America, that system of cops feeling like they're above the law and a certain group of people feeling like they're above the law, that is something that has happened all the time. It's far too familiar because for the most part, they are. Police officers do get an immunity from these types of situations. And the system of policing protects bad, corrupt officers in a corrupt system that was designed to hunt black people. He didn't care. There was another officer and a black officer holding him down, and then an Asian officer trying to block people from viewing it, from seeing it. And as what I was saying about the system of policing protecting officers, regardless of context, regardless of situation, let's keep it in Minneapolis with Philando Castile's murder. What should have been a routine traffic stop. And him even saying, I have a licensed handgun, I have a legal handgun, but I'm going to grab my license and registration. It turned into this man losing his life, being shot 7 times in front of his girlfriend and in front of his daughter. And that officer didn't, for the most part, if I remember correctly, I don't even think he got charged. Let me see. Oh no, he was charged, but he wasn't convicted. And then the ending, not convicted. That's something that's far too common. Just like with Eric Garner. Similar. Accused of doing a petty crime. George Floyd was using a counterfeit $20 bill. For Eric Garner, it was loose cigarette. Was selling loose cigarettes outside of a store. Similar ending with the cops abusing the power, with Eric Garner being put in a chokehold by multiple officers and him dying for a petty crime and him pleading that he can't breathe. And the officer in that case didn't even get convicted. Or you can put Michael Brown. After being accused of stealing, of being caught stealing from a store, was shot 6 times. And the officer in that case didn't even get charged for the murder. That, and similar to what's happening now, that led to riots. It led to protests. It led to riots. It led to people being angry, people showing their frustrations. And also, and that was in, if I'm correct, Ferguson, and then in Baltimore with Freddie Gray's murder, even though he was okay when he was getting into the cop car, he ends up dead. He ends up dead. How the fuck do you not think that we're gonna be angry? How the hell do you think we're gonna just keep calm and relax when we have to, every single year, almost every single week, we have to hear about another black man being abused by the police, another black man or black woman being killed by the police, or another black woman being abused by the police? How do you think we feel? Why do you think the streets are packed right now? Why do you think they're protesting, still protesting to this day? And they're getting their voices heard by any means necessary. It's just fucking draining. And if you're not black, you're never gonna fucking understand. I can't say this is a wake-up call, because for years, decades, generations, black people have been telling people around the world, telling people at home, that there's systemic racism in all walks of life, especially in policing, especially in law enforcement, and black people are dying in the hands of the police. We're dying by the hands of the people that are supposed to protect us. And now it took something that is so blatantly sickening to watch, something that's so obviously murder, and just a situation that had no positive outcomes for justice. There was no justice that was going to be served. The officers involved in that case wanted to kill him. They wanted to kill him. To show that not only black people were telling the truth, we were even holding back on what is actually going on. It was, again, a black person for something that we all know would have been handled entirely differently if it was another skin color involved in the crime, or even just involved with the police at all. Because we've seen stories where it doesn't matter if a black person's committing a crime or not committing a crime, provoking or not provoking, we are dying in the hands of the police. The police see us as a threat and take it out on us. They're playing the role as a judge, jury, and executioner when it's not their fucking job. For people looking in, or just now looking in, this is shocking. This is disgusting. For us, it's reality. Like, there's just some things about being black that unless you are black, you're just not going to understand. There's just, like, you understand that your life is going to be judged differently because of the color of your skin. That people are going to hate you because of the color of your skin, or because of your hair, or because of how you dress, or how you speak, or how you speak amongst your peers, or what car you drive, and the skin color that's matching the car. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's your sheer existence is a threat to some people. And that's something that black people, it's almost tradition for us to explain our pain and explain our frustration and pass it down and let our sons, our daughters, the youngins that are under us, and explain them how to react in front of law enforcement, in front of white people, and especially in front of law enforcement, because getting stopped by the police could literally be life or death. It's just this, but back to what I was saying. It's the subtle differences, the subtle covert forms of racism that, we experience on a day-to-day. Like for black people, there's a legitimate fear of, wearing a certain type of color in an area, because because a white person or a person that's terrified of us, they're gonna call the police because they think it's gang activity. Or you're waiting for a friend in a certain area, and then somebody thinks you're up to no good. Or you're walking home late at night and you assume all it takes is one phone call that you don't even know about. Having to try to lessen your anger and control your emotions and dial back your emotions, even though you have every right to be angry, because especially me, this is something that was real for me, because as a kid, because I've always been a big kid. I've always been one of the tallest kids in the class, always been one of the biggest kids in the class, always been the athletic one, always been tall for my age and all this stuff. And you have to rile back your emotions, because when you're angry, because you can't even, because your frustration, you showing your emotions could be a threat, or could be a person feeling like they're in danger because of your, because nothing more, because of what you look like. How much times I get, like, how much times, and I understand it. Like, I'm not naive. I understand it. But how much times I get people look at me differently, or just, just kind of have a certain feeling about me because of just my hair, obviously, my height, and just being the tall black kid with dreads. And then after they have a conversation with me, it's, oh, you're not like you're not like what I, you're totally different to what I thought. It's like, well, why? Why am I different than why am I different than just, who I am? You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, given the fact for me, I grew up relatively middle class, but grew up not too far away from the hood, not too far away from crime-riddled areas, not too far away from lower income areas. And, you have to watch out for gang violence already, because, wearing a certain color, someone will assume that you're repping this sort of gang. Or if you're hanging out with a certain person who has a certain reputation, you're a threat. So you have to, keep watch there, look over your back there. Look over your shoulder, look over your shoulder there. And then, especially, it was weird for me because, I don't work in the area that I live. I work relatively I work downtown in my city. I work downtown and entertainment district, etc., etc. And you're seeing an entirely different view of the city. You're interacting with people who are really blocked away from anything that goes on in the black community, or that could plague the black community. And you're really just, even though I've never dealt with any covert forms of racism from coworkers or any customers or anything like that, it's in the back of your mind, and you're constantly thinking, like, who really cares? Like, who really cares? And it's just dealing with that, and then dealing with that. It's like, why are y'all surprised that we're mad? Why are y'all surprised that we're angry right now? Why are y'all surprised that we're looking for answers? Like, honestly, I could go on all day. I could honestly just do this all day. I could talk about this all day. And although personally, for me, I've never had a bad experience with a police officer, and all the police officers for the most part have been routes that I've encountered in my life have ever been really good people, I still don't want to have an experience with a police officer because, seeing what goes on throughout the news, throughout social media, throughout my community, things that I've literally seen, you don't want to have a bad encounter. You don't really want to have an encounter with police officers because I've always kind of been brought up to fear them. It's not like, seeing people talk about how, they feel safe with a police officer in the area. That wasn't the case for me. If anything, I feel more at alert when a police officer was in the area. I would feel more okay, I have to really fly straight because I don't know. That's the thing. I just don't know. And although, like I said, I've never had a bad experience with a police officer before, I don't want to have an experience with any police officer. I don't want to even see it. It gives anxiety when you see a police cruiser outside your house. Seeing a police cruiser outside your neighborhood, and you don't even, and you know that you're not in trouble. You know you haven't done anything wrong, but you're still scared because you feel like this officer may want to go on a power trip, and you're in a fucked up situation. It's like there's no real way of explaining it. This and just everything I've said and everything that's been going on, it's caused people to really take a look at what we consider policing and the treatment of black people, and there's been protests and riots, and that's expected. But what I didn't expect is every state in the U.S. to protest. That's been pleasantly surprising. And then seeing how we've mobilized worldwide, that has been eye-opening. People of all skin tones, races, religions have been mobilizing across the world in places like UK, China, Germany, Brazil, Palestine, Syria, Australia, and even where I'm living right now in Canada. There's been protests damn near every single week. Every week there's been a protest. There's been mass protests across the world. And with seeing all this and seeing the response on social media and feeling a sense that people are kind of are rethinking or just straight up changing their opinions of what they think the Black Lives Matter protests are about. And just the Black Lives Matter movement, even though I personally don't see how this is a hard statement to digest, Black Lives Matter, it should be just easy as that. No, it really fucking hasn't. Because people have not understood it, and they saw it as radical. They saw it as people thinking that black lives are the only thing that mattered, or some stupid shit like that. So even though the Black Lives Matter movement had the people who were for it, and they were loud and proud about it, they were the people who were against it, and were equally loud and proud about it. And it didn't help during the Baltimore riots and just the protesting that was going on in America at the time. I think this was 2015, where 9 police officers were shot. I don't know if they were all killed, but 9 police officers were shot by a former military serviceman who was black, even though that particular serviceman wasn't involved with the Black Lives Matter movement at all. I don't think he was. I don't think he was at all, but I could be wrong. It worked. And created more deflections on black people wanting equalities so they can overtake white people, or people bring up black on black crime. People bringing up a bunch of other factors that don't have anything to do with the movement or the underlying message. And especially how the media funneled it to communities that don't have that many black people, don't have that many encounters with black people. And it made people think that on the surface, Black Lives Matter more than anything else. And even though that's all bullshit, it fucking worked. Because I think America has showed that bullshit can sell if you wrap it nice enough. So, you wrap the bullshit nice enough, especially to communities that don't have that many black people, especially to people that are on the fence about it, that don't really know about it. So a lot of these terms like white privilege or just having privileges didn't felt so foreign to them. And then you funnel it to your communities that you're comfortable with, like your friends, your family, etc., etc. Now you have a set place where the Black Lives Matter movement had its fair share of supporters, and it was building up the fair share of supporters, but it was also building up the fair share of detractors. And to this day, I don't really know how the fuck this. I don't know how the fuck this happened, because when the Black Lives Matter movement started, I was 15 or 14 for the most part. I think I was 14 or 15. I don't remember, but it was like, why the fuck is the term Black Lives Matter such a controversial statement? Like, why is that controversial? Like, how the hell do black people deserve equality? A controversial statement. If someone can explain to me, let me know. So anyways, any discussions on how we treat black people in our society and the microaggressions that black people face day to day got throttled quickly in any discussion, whether it was Colin Kaepernick's protest and people saying it was disrespectful to the flag, or whether it was police reform or police accountability, and then people bring up black on black crime or reparations, and people feeling like black people don't deserve it. Or the Confederate flag, and then people just flat out being fucking wrong about the history of the Civil War and the Confederate flag. It just caused more barriers. So for black people to explain anything, they'll have to explain what it isn't first, and that takes a lot of time away from the actual topic at hand. I guarantee people seeing the hashtags for Trayvon Martin, Tamir Rice, Philando Castile, Michael Brown, Freddie Gray, Eric Garner, Sandra Bland, Alton Sterling, and many, many more hashtags. This video would be damn near an hour long, but the mindset shift. But after hearing those hashtags, the mindset would shift on from people looking at the cops like they're playing the judge, jury, and executioner, and they're tax-funded, heavily trained trained, regulated program that's just comically abusing their power to, what is he wearing? Or what was he doing? Or he should have not resisted, or anything like that. But now it's time for everybody to wake the fuck up. It's time for everybody that was looking down on this movement to wake the fuck up, because now black people and people supporting Black Lives Matter are going to be getting their point across. They're going to get their point across one way or another. Because we don't want to go back to normality. We don't want to go back to order, because order and normality was only benefiting a certain group of people. So with the protests, and people are doing, and keep in mind, people are protesting in the middle of a pandemic that's still alive, still doing numbers, and also disproportionately, I think that's what it's called, that has, for other reasons, effects on the black community. It kills black people at a higher rate than white people for other factors that have honestly nothing really to do with the virus. It's just problems that were already there but are now being increased or even shown even more because of the virus. It got me wondering, what's the role of my non-black friends, especially my white friends too, so non-black people of color and white people have in this movement, have on being allied to black people. It got me thinking about the past. It got me thinking about questions I've even had for a while, and I wanted to really just kind of dial back my thoughts. And this is kind of why this video is taking it was longer than it was needed to actually come out, it got me thinking about what I want to ask my friends and getting their opinions on on what they think about standing up and protesting along black people and being an ally and the movement in general. It had me thinking. So that's what I did. Over the course of the week, also I was recovering from a concussion too. Over the course of the week, I was making up some of the questions, rethinking all the questions I've had, coming up with some new ones, and I decided to DM as many of my friends that have been vocal, have either been sharing petitions, donating, have been raising their awareness, sharing their stories on social media, or have literally gone out to protests. I decided to DM as many as I can. I couldn't get to everybody, so I tried DMing as many people as possible and just getting their responses to these questions. I think they're important because I feel like if you're a non-black person of color or you're a white person, you for sure have had these questions. You've probably had these questions in your mind or haven't had the answer. So I wanted to really think about this as well. And that is going to be part 2 because honestly this video is already pretty long as is, and I'm gonna do the recording tomorrow. So today is July 1st. I'm gonna record the next video tomorrow, and it's gonna be just of the role non-black people have in the Black Lives Matter movement. And this video is just more my reactions and thoughts about what's been happening, what's been going on. You saw me kind of looking down. I was looking down at my phone because, if I didn't, I would just be fumbling all over the place. I was trying my hardest not to, but, meh. But, anyways, that's really it with this video. Part 2, second part of this video is going to come out after this part, and I edit it. So, yeah, that's all it is. Stay safe.